Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content on this channel as of late. I posted the 9 days review discussion a couple of days ago, so hope you guys are enjoying that. And as promised in that video, we are now doing Spider-Man No Way Home. We're finally doing the review. Before we get down to the review, I just want to address a couple of things about the film. First one is obvious. We will be addressing some spoilers in this discussion because I'm posting this review on Tuesday, and I assume that all of you have seen Spider-Man No Way Home up to this point. I mean, the box office results kind of prove it. So I assume that all of you have seen the movie, and so we're going to be discussing a little bit of spoilers throughout this review. And if you see me drinking water, my throat's a little bit dry. I don't usually eat at the theater anymore, just, for COVID reasons, and I just don't. I'm trying to eat a little bit cleaner nowadays. But then again, I went to eat McDonald's after this screening, so I'm trying to get better. But I can't resist a quarter pounder. But if you excuse me. I don't know what just happened. That water just went down the wrong pipe. But if you see me drinking water, you're probably wondering, like, this water's empty now. I now have more water. But if you see me drinking water, just got a little bit of a dry throat going on. But we will persevere as we talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, the second thing that I want to bring up is a little bit about hype. And I wanted to address kind of the intimidation when it comes to hype, because and as always, I have my notes. But I know that it is really hard to be in the minority when something is like globally loved, or is there's just universal acclaim, and I get how intimidating it can be to be in the minority, and you try to keep your opinion hush hush, or you try to fake it. I get it. I've been there before. I used to write film reviews for my high school publication, and I've been that guy who's always been honest with his opinions, and then there have been times where I have been intimidated by hype and stuff like that, and I've faked myself into thinking that I really liked the movie, even though I didn't really like the movie. So there is that, there is that sort of thing for certain types of movies. And Spider-Man No Way Home has had a year of build-up, a year of speculation, and just, people have been really, really, really excited for this movie. So I understand that there probably are some people out there who probably feel a little scared to put out an opinion that is different from the majority. Because hype is both fun and very toxic. So the only thing that I hope is that everyone who is watching the movie or has seen the movie, I hope that everyone is treated with respect, and that no one's is put down or treated unfairly because they don't share the same opinion as you. So just hopefully everyone is being treated fairly, and everyone is universally being treated with respect, because it's not just an opinion, guys. It's not anything to take to heart. So because that all being said, there's a lot of buildup. I think that you can take a guess as to how I felt about the movie. I fall into the minority once again. But just to give some backstory, or not backstory, but to lay out the groundwork, I've not been the biggest fan of the MCU as of late. Some stuff worked for me. I've enjoyed Loki. I really liked Loki. I would say that's probably the best thing to come out of Phase 4. I think that has the best character development. I think that the weight is felt, and I think that there's great payoff. And I think that it leads to interesting things for the universe, but also leads to interesting possibilities for season 2, which I'm very much looking forward to. But beyond that, I haven't really loved a lot of what Marvel's done. I didn't love a lot of the television shows. I just talked about Hawkeye not too long ago, and I'm still in the same place. When I reviewed the first two episodes, I'm still in that same spot. Hopefully, with tomorrow's finale, you know, hopefully maybe there'll be a change. But I'm at this point, there's not going to be any change. And I still stick with my opinion where I think Hawkeye should have been a movie. I think Hawkeye should have been a film. Um, I don't think that it needed all that time. Um, but uh, but I didn't love Black Widow. I didn't really like Shang-Chi all that much, and I didn't really like Spider-Man No Way Home. And we'll get into why in a second. But I want to talk about the stuff that I liked, which, to be honest with you, is a little small. And again, if you hear some noises going on in the background, just noisy neighborhood and all that stuff. But anyways, um, so let's begin with the good stuff. The third act in general is fun. I mean, it's fun. I mean, I wouldn't say it's great, because there's a scene or two there that I found a little bit annoying. Um, but um, but in general, I think it's where the film is the most balanced, um, particularly like in how it handles weight and also timing. Um, because within this portion, do we start to see like the better qualities of the story begin to show? We start to see like the story begin to move more smoothly, the performances start to become a little bit more fun to watch, and your enjoyment and engagement is a lot more focused. Because um, well, I was about to get in my negatives, but um, we'll get there. Uh, like I said, your engagement is a lot more focused, and also it's your enjoyment, it becomes more impactful. Like you're there's a little bit more of an emotional, um, some resonance, I would say. Um, I've been people have been saying it's the most emotional Spider-Man movie. I didn't cry watching it. I wasn't really that wrapped up in it, but I can sense some resonance, and I felt some resonance, um, but but not as much. And and before you jump to conclusions, the reason why I like the third act has nothing to do with the nostalgia parts. It has nothing to do with the obvious elements. Um, I'm talking about mainly the flow of the story. So I'm not talking about the obvious things. Um, it, it's just to say that I think it lands better than expected. Because to get there, you have to be able to sit through the first two acts, which are very choppy, very uneven, and very rushed. Um, this is where we get into my issues of No Way Home, um, because in order to get to that decent point in the film, the third act, you you have to try to bear through these two acts that really lack a lot of consistency, and mainly because it all has to do with the film's mindset, which is to me one of the biggest issues of the film. Because what this movie cares about at its core is nostalgia and callbacks. It doesn't really care about um, how it wants to navigate its own story. It doesn't really care about how to develop its characters further, or uh, how to how to how do I say it? Um, how to bring things full circle, and how to continue the story that you left off in Far From Home smoothly. It doesn't really transition well. If you watch Far From Home and No Way Home, they are very different movies, but for bad reasons. No, Far From Home is a lot more consistent. It's actually the best film in the trilogy, also, by the way. I think Homecoming is perfectly fine, but it's like your typical Spider-Man adventure. Far From Home has a little bit more going on, and um, and it's all benefiting everything. It's not just noise, and it's just elements there just to say hi and everything. It actually all plays to the narrative, and you are kind of wrapped up in it in some respects. Um, Here though, like there's definitely more stuff going on, but all that stuff, it makes the film um, kind of gasping for air because it's overcrowded. It has a lot of stuff going on, juggling too many characters. Um, it has a little bit of Amazing Spider-Man 2 syndrome. Um, but to bring it back to the act to the first two acts though, um, that nostalgia that I mentioned, it's the driving force. Like that's the driving force of the whole movie. And to me, that's where we start to see the issues of the film come into play full force. Um, and because of that, you get two acts that are hard to digest, and like I said, like the film is like gasping for air in those first two acts, like because it just goes, because it wants to get to the nostalgia very quickly, particularly the first act, because it's like really eager to get to those nostalgic parts, um, because it's either bored with setting up, you know, a good foundation, or it has no desire to do that, or really have any special reasoning for why certain things are happening. Um, like it's filled with conveniences and contradictions, by the way, um, especially when it comes to how they portray or introduce certain characters. Yes, even the nostalgic ones. Um, I'm gonna get into some spoilerish stuff right now, so just I'm gonna wave my hands right now because we're about to get into some spoilers. So I'll wave my hands again once we're out of spoilers. But just to talk about spoilers briefly, three, two, one, spoiler time. Um, Doctor Strange has like I feel like his character is like misunderstood in this movie because Doctor Strange would never do the things that he does in this movie. He would never willingly try to change everything because Peter's having his own issues. Um, and during the issues, like Doctor Strange is like like he seems like he's kind of rebellious. He's not as secure or protective as he used to be, and like his guards come down really low. And I feel like that would have been an interesting growth if they had established it correctly. But to me, it felt like a contradiction because the Doctor Strange that I know would never do all the things that he does in this movie. He never would do any of this stuff. Um, and Getting into the nostalgic characters, really two of the villains have decent developments, and that's Green Goblin and Doc Ock. They're both given decent developments, but the rest of them, they feel like their developments feel contradicting because Electro chose to be bad. Okay, it's not like he had like the little brain problems or whatever, like with Green Goblin and Doc Ock. He chose to be evil. So for him to have when they remove his powers at the end, and then all of a sudden he's like okay, it doesn't make any sense for his character. Same thing for Sandman. Sandman is or similar to Sandman. Sandman is a good person. He's a good person, but they just somehow he does a 180 because he doesn't know this Spider-Man, like stranger danger type stuff, and then he just goes all evil for some reason. Like that's and then the Lizard is in here for like no reason. He just shows up. Um, so really, what I think I know they were trying to show off all the villains because again, nostalgia bait, but um, really you have two villains that are developed, two villains, um, and furthermore into spoilers, somehow characters are able to do things that other characters took years to learn and master, like Doctor Strange when he does the teleporting thing, like the whole, you know what I mean, with the finger, and he's like, opening portals and stuff. Somehow Ned can do it out of nowhere, like you know, it kind of again is a contradiction. Um, and then other times characters know how to get out of situations they've never been in, like when Doctor Strange uh, pushes Peter out of his physical form and he's just floating, and somehow Peter is able to still move his physical body around. It's like uh, you've never been in the situation before. How are you able to do that? And they don't explain it at all. They're just because he's Spider-Man, um, which is not an explanation at all. um, and are able to defeat threats they've never fought before, and somehow are defeat them fairly easily. Like Spider-Man goes up against the most powerful villains in his space, because he's fighting Green Goblin, Electro, Sandman, uh, at one point Doc Ock, like all these powerful villains, and somehow they're pretty easy to defeat. Like they're fairly easy to defeat, um, just on his own. Like he was able to defeat Doc Ock pretty easily. The only one that he had an issue with was Green Goblin, but everyone else pretty easy. Electro pretty easy. Sandman pretty easy. Like you know, like it's just all convenient stuff. It's also stuff that they have to do because it wouldn't lead to certain things in the story. It wouldn't lead to more fan service and nostalgia bait. Um, so you know, uh, end of spoilers now. Um, so I mean, it's fun to see familiar faces. Don't get me wrong, it's fun to see familiar faces. Um, but it's also upsetting because they just have a lack of purpose in the story. Their purposes boil down to bait, nostalgia bait. They're there to get hoots and hollers in the theater, and also it's kind of there to distract you in some manner. Um, because one of the other things, I won't get into spoilers on this one, but the reasoning for why they exist in the story, like why they end up in Spider-Man's world, like it's a bit questionable, a bit stretching. It's also again contradicting in some respects. Um, but the glowing point of them being there, like the best part of them being there, is that the performers actually do a decent job. They're not phoning it in. They seem to be giving some fair dedication. The only one that I thought was a little strange was Jamie Foxx. I wasn't really digging his performance. He was very quippy, and I don't remember Electro being that way. I remember Electro was trying to be a little bit more imposing. He wasn't this. He wasn't cracking jokes or being this type of had this type of energy. I just again loads of contradictions, um, in the movie. And then we get to the second act, and there's one story element, I won't spoil it, but it involves Aunt May, and I thought it was a nice moment. I thought that was the moment where the movie finally just, just had a sigh. I was able to let out a little bit, have some room, and then the movie gets locked up again. You know, um, it's packed with little room to breathe, and then it's like oddly anxious within this act as well, um, because with anyone who has anxiety, it's like I deal with anxiety. You get like uncontrollable emotions and actions, and in some manner, that's how you can describe the second act and the first to some degree. Um, it's just it has this like scattershot type of motif. There's no real consistency going on. It's just uh, like scenes just kind of fly at you, and then once we get to the nostalgic parts, it slows down, and again, it plays more into what I'm saying when I feel that the movie's primary focus and its its real care is for nostalgia and callbacks. So, um, but that one moment with Aunt May was nice. It was a nice moment. Um, Furthermore, the MacGuffin is pointless to the movie. It makes no sense. It's never used. I mean, actually, it makes sense within the context of the story, but they never use it. We never see what it can do, how it works, or how powerful it is. It's just mentioned how powerful it is, which is nothing until we actually see it. Um, it's a device to get you to certain nostalgia callbacks, etc. So, um, like the occurring thing that you're hearing is nostalgia, 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 because everything falls back to nostalgia. Because again, that's what the film cares about the most, and that's the worst part of this movie. That's the absolute worst part about this movie is that it cares so much about nostalgia, um, and it's using it to distract the viewer. and it doesn't function as an important and fundamental part of the narrative. It's like John Watts, the director. Um, it's like he knows what he's doing is doing a disservice to what was built in the last movie, but he just doesn't really care. He just wants to. He's letting his fanboyisms take over, and just you know put this in because it looks cool and that looks cool, and oh shoot, let's do reference this, and oh yeah, let's bring these guys in. Basically, it's like it's as if a fan directed this, not a filmmaker. Um, um, because it just like feels like we're kind of lost in some respects, and again, just lacking a real firm navigation. Like the best comparison to a point, I would say, is the Amazing Spider-Man 2, because it's overcrowded. It doesn't have a great sense of direction, and you become kind of lost in it because of its desire to do a certain idea in its own story, um, and like again, I really believe that that this is like a fan movie. It's not a movie that complements the other two Spider-Man films. Because at least with Homecoming and Far From Home, there was some kind of progression, very small progression, but progression nonetheless. This one, I mean, there are interesting stuff in it. Like I said, I think the third act is where things get kind of fun, and again, the most consistent. Um, like everything starts to slow down, which I very much appreciate. Um, but man, those first two acts, they're frustratingly unbalanced. Like I was very frustrated with those first two acts, and the overuse of nostalgia, the reliance on nostalgia, um, the loads of conveniences, the character contradictions, and more importantly, to me anyway, this has the worst pacing I have ever seen from Marvel Studios. The absolute worst pacing. I thought Shang-Chi had the worst pacing. No, scrap that. Spider-Man No Way Home takes the cake. Because those first two acts are so choppy. Like the way they cut certain scenes. The third act has some of this issues as well, but the way that certain scenes are cut, and the way that the 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 speed of the story in that first and second act, it's like running. It's going fast. Um, and it's funny because it's a 2.5 hour film, so you would think that the movie would take its time, but instead it's just trying to move real quick because again, at its core, this movie cares about nostalgia, and that's what it wants to get to the most. Because when we get to those elements, that's when it kind of becomes consistent. Again, the third act, to a degree, because of the nostalgia and the story, the way it's edited and the way it's um, presented, it feels much more balanced. But here, it where the nostalgia is only kind of hinted and suggested at. It's just like we don't care about this. We need to get to nostalgia because that's what I care about. Um, it's not what's good for the project. It's what I care about. Um, and For me, it dedicates itself to fan service and bathing in its own franchise, and that amounted to the most inconsistent piece of the MCU. And to me, the worst of the trilogy. I mean, easily the worst of the trilogy. It is not as bad as Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 3. It's not anywhere near as bad as those films, but it is very much so a disappointment and highly overrated. I do not like this movie as much as everyone else is. Um, and from what Marvel delivered this year, I mean, again, I didn't love Hawkeye and I didn't love a lot of the other shows and movies, but I think that No Way Home is easily the weakest of the offerings from this year. It's just very inconsistent and just all the contradictions and conveniences just really frustrated me. And I think that people are loving it because of just the nostalgia factor. I think that's really why the movie is being adored as much because of all the nostalgia elements. And it's too reliant also on the MCU. Like I wish, like when when we get into like shows like Loki and other things, sure, the MCU is a part of it, but it's not. You don't have to watch like 20 movies or something to get this movie. The only thing that I think that No Way Home should have relied on is Far From Home and Homecoming. They shouldn't have relied or focused on trying to set up other things, because it cares more about like two things. It just cares about nostalgia and it cares about setup. It cares about, hey, how do we set up this? Because we know that this isn't a spoiler. This was in the news, but we are getting a new trilogy of Spider-Man films. The ending is a way of setting that up, and um, I didn't react to the ending at all. I was like, because people were crying in the theater. I was like, he's coming back, right? Like, it's not a spoiler to say that they that they give kind of like a goodbye of sorts to Spider-Man, because it's the end of the trilogy, so they have to give some closure of some kind. Um, and the way they do it, I thought was interesting. Again, questionable decision, but because I feel like you could have done other things. Um, Also, I nailed it with the post-credit scenes. I knew exactly what they were going to be, um, and uh, I just I just didn't really love this movie, guys. I was pretty disappointed by it. I thought, again, just very inconsistent. Um, uh, the first two acts are just so unbalanced, and I do not like how this movie is so reliant on nostalgia, because um, I think it really diminished what you were watching. Because I thought there is an interesting story there. Like, um, I liked certain elements they introduced in the third act. And again, that Aunt May moment was nice. Um, but I feel like this should have been because it doesn't feel like a sequel to Far From Home. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like something else. It feels like we should have had like a movie between Far From Home and No Way Home, where this would make, you know, this would feel a lot more accepted, because going from Far From Home to No Way Home, it is a big difference and a huge leap. Because it is the most ambitious Spider-Man film, but for all the wrong reasons. So, um, so, um, yeah, and nostalgia can only take you so far. So, it was kind of like a similar complaint that I had for Ghostbusters Afterlife, where I was just like, so these characters are just kind of just material. They're just pieces, and they're not really functioning as characters. They're just things for us to get to the moment of when the original Ghostbusters come back. Similar to Spider-Man No Way Home, where it feels like we're just kind of we're trying to package time. We're trying to how do I say this? It's like the first two acts are basically um like setup, 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 and then the third act, it's like, okay, now we're getting into the stuff that actually impacts characters and actually feels a little bit more fun and interactive. Those first two acts are it's hard to digest, and again, it's like it's choking the film almost. It's like kind of choking it for almost like an hour and a half or so, and then when we get to that third act, it releases it. It releases its hand. Um, so yeah, so I don't know. It didn't really work for me. I don't hate the movie. It sounds like I really hate the movie, but I think it's definitely the weakest of the Spider-Man trilogy, the most inconsistent from Marvel, um, and I think just one of the weaker films of the MCU. That's just my opinion. Um, so that's gonna be it for this review, guys. I mean, hope you guys enjoyed this review. You guys let me know your thoughts on it. Did you guys love No Way Home? Did you guys not like No Way Home? Um, don't be afraid to say that you didn't like it, okay? Because I know that there's a lot of love and hype surrounding this movie. Please do not be intimidated by that, okay? Do not, okay? Um, like just to tell you a quick story, real quick. I I posted a Captain Marvel review when I was back at the high school publication, and I got so much flack for it just because I didn't give it a positive review. And the same thing happened for Avengers Endgame and all that stuff. Um, so don't be intimidated by hype and all the majority viewing it one way. Um, don't be intimidated by all that. Just say what you feel, and because you're talking about movies, guys. We're not talking about politics or anything that important. I love movies as much. I worship movies, but I know at the end of the day that it's a piece of entertainment. It's meant to be loved, and it's meant to have for you to have fun with, and also it's art, so it's meant to be interpretive. It's meant to be uh, viewed in many different ways. And with just us as people, we're all going to have different views. So tell me your thoughts on No Way Home. Did you guys love it? Did you guys not love it? Be honest with your opinion. Um, and yeah, so I didn't really love it, but I guess if there's anything consistent, it's my not my love for the MCU movies. Again, didn't love Black Widow, didn't love Shang-Chi, and didn't really like No Way Home. So we'll see how next year goes. Hopefully, Doctor Strange 2. I think that's the next film coming out. Which, by the way, I saw the trailer for. That was one of the post-credit scenes. Spoilers. Sorry. I mean, if it was like a scene, I guess it would be considered a spoiler. But it's the trailer. You'll see it in a few days. Um, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried. But we'll talk more about it, the trailer, when it officially comes out. But I won't spoil the other post-credit scene. Don't worry. Um, but yeah, guys, that's it for this review. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know your thoughts on the trilogy, and just your thoughts on this movie and what you think of the future. Are you guys burnt out on superhero films like I am, kind of? Because I am starting to kind of get burnt out a little bit. Or are you guys still riding that high? You guys let me know your thoughts. Um, but yeah, that's it for this review, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And the next video is probably going to be a Let's React to It. We're bringing that back. We're going to do a trailer reaction, and then on Christmas Day, we're going to post a pretty lengthy review to or not lengthy review, a lengthy reaction to a particular short film. So hope you guys will be enjoying those videos when they come out. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I've said it like 5 times, but this is definitely the end of the video, guys. No more. I'm gonna end it now. Alrighty, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Be safe, be protected out there, and wash your hands, social distance, especially this week, Christmas week. Just stay clear from everybody. We'll get through this. We'll get through this together, guys. So I'll see you guys later. Y'all have a great holiday.